It was supposed to roll through the parade, destroy all the enemies at the front, and then return to the ranks in one piece, without sustaining any damage. The pride of Russia, with no analogues, which Putin never stopped praising, the T-90M Pro-Rev tank.
Now we can say that the T-90 Pro-Rev is the best tank in the world. As soon as it takes position, that's it.
Indeed, that's it, because it's gone, since this best tank is only good as a target, and the statistics at the front don't lie.
According to the well-known Oryx website, which is known for carefully tracking military equipment losses during our war since 2014, they report that Russia has lost at least 177 T-90 tanks of all modifications. Strangely enough, this turned out to be almost a shock for the Russians, since they had placed great hopes on this tank.
Once again, not all of the 177 tanks are Pro-Rev models. We're talking about T-90s of all modifications. And quite simply, there aren't even that many Pro-Rev tanks in Russia. But dozens, if not more, T-90Ms definitely won't be making it to the parade now. Why did the Pro-Rev turn into a failure? What are the weak points of Russia's best tank? And how many of these toys does Putin have left? All this and more, coming up in just a moment. The T-90M is a modernized version of Russia's main T-90 tank, which was originally developed back in the early 1990s. And those in turn are a modernization of the Soviet T-72 tank.
Actually, the T-90 tank isn't a Russian, or at least not a purely Russian design, right? The vast majority of their designs trace their origins, their roots back to Soviet times. For example, work on the T-90 tank was already underway in the Soviet Union. It began in the mid-1980s. At that point, to be honest, the Soviet Union was already on its last legs. They developed this vehicle, brought it to the stage of factory testing, to experimental models, so to speak.
There are about 8 known modifications of the T-90. Of these, the best was specifically the T-90M. The Russian army only received the first batch of Pro-Rev tanks in 2020. Another batch arrived in early March 2021. That same year, the tank was officially adopted by the Russian armed forces. So this is a very new tank, which means it should be the best on the battlefield.
The T-90 is one of the most modern developments of the Russian military-industrial complex, and it was given a very loud and formidable name, Pro-Rev, Breakthrough. But at the same time, it is a modification of the old T-72 tank. And although it is now equipped with a more powerful engine and a new turret with elements from the T-80 tank, it has retained all the shortcomings of Soviet tanks.
The new features of the T-90M include the turret, a new multi-channel sight that can be used at any time, and the Kalina fire control system. They claim that the Pro-Rev can launch high-precision reflex missiles with a range of up to 5 kilometers directly from the main gun. The tank is also equipped with the Relict reactive armor system. As usual, in Russia, this is presented as having no analogues. The name itself is amusing, since the word relict actually means something outdated, a relic of the past. Although, in general, it fits. In reality, this protection doesn't save the tank.
The T-90 has 3 levels of protection, 3 so-called layers of defense. But the problem is that the upper hemisphere, basically the turret roof, is not protected by anything. And experience with the use of javelins and NLAWs has shown that so far, nothing can protect this hemisphere.
It can be hit by both FPV drones and regular cannons. And as the maestro once said about German aces, they burn like a charm.
In fact, the issue of protection is consistently cited as one of the main reasons for failure at the front. In several instances, some tanks were completely destroyed in combat by less powerful combat vehicles, for example, such as the American BMP M2 Bradley. Moreover, it should not be forgotten that, just like the Soviet authorities, Russians do not care at all about their crew. Protecting the equipment is more important to them. Even Putin did not try to hide this.
One of the commanders said, unfortunately, the tanker was killed, but the tank, the T-92, hit a landmine. Well, apparently it just flew up there. Well, the person just got injured while he was there. Not from a combat shell, but just hit himself hard, that's all. The tank remained operational.
The tanker is expendable after all. The tank itself is a different matter. But even the latter has problems with protection. One of the tank's critical problems is said to be the vulnerability of the ammunition stored inside the hull. A fire caused by a hit can trigger a detonation. The turret just gets blown off.
Unbelievable. He just toppled over like a Chupa Chups, hitting the ground.
And this is exactly where we come back to Russia's best dynamic protection system, Relict. No analogs, remember? Well, in this case, instead of dynamic protection, the tank ended up with bricks.
It is really incredible protection, bro. This protection is just bricks.
As you might have guessed, protection isn't the only problem with the ProRev. Even the T-90MS engine power doesn't make it more maneuverable than its Western counterparts. The tank also has limited thrust and reverse speed. It doesn't have a reverse gear, and the much-touted Kalina fire control system is equipped with relatively poor quality monitors, and performs badly in dynamic conditions, just like the new Russian radio communication system. Overall, a Russian-style breakthrough. There's no point, just a lot of noise. Tank crews realize this from time to time, which is why they abandon their T-90Ms. In such cases, the tanks are completely intact, which means they can now serve on the side of good. At the very least, it's nothing to feel sorry about. Another problem with these tanks is that many have been destroyed, while production is lagging behind. It was previously reported that Russia produced 40 T-90Ms per year before the start of the full-scale invasion. In 2023, their production supposedly reached the level of 60 to 70 units per year. But there's also an interesting detail here. Out of every 4 T-90Ms produced, both before the invasion and during it, 3 were made by upgrading T-90As, taken out of storage, and only 1 was built from scratch. We won't even attempt to comment on that kind of quality. But you can share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think of the ProRev tank. And don't forget to like this video and be sure to subscribe to our Arsenal channel so you don't miss any of the most interesting content.